Okay, so I'm switching over to the lapel mic. My last video on Saturday, I was using a different microphone, like an independent really recording, like a voice recorder, and it was terrible audio. I tried to get so scientific about adjusting the audio with like a gate and a controller and a bunch of weird things that DaVinci Resolve, the free version, has, and it was tough. But I'm learning how to use it. So, as you can see, if you can do the math, we have a 35, a 25, and two 10s. Add that times 2 plus 45. I already know it's 205, but if you want to challenge yourself, you can try to mentally add that up real quick. It's basically a 45 and a 35, which is with the so 245s in the bar is 215. So then, because it's 35 and a 45, that's minus 10 times 2 minus 20 from 225, so you get 205. So, yeah, I don't really have much to say. I haven't really been thinking too much. I'm just, trying to work hard at work, enjoy life outside of work, and I have an extremely, extremely low-calorie diet. Chicken, beans, egg whites for breakfast, and that's it. 2 meals, and that's it. So it's pretty tough, but I can do it. I'm down quite a bit today compared to yesterday, and yeah, I will tell you, my day yesterday was pretty nice. My brother and I have been hanging out, and so we're starting to get a kind of ritual going where every single Sunday we go to this one specific independent coffee shop, and we're starting to make friends with the local guys who are there. They're older, old guys, but it's a Greek coffee shop. My brother and I are Greek through our dad's side. And so there's this Greek coffee shop, and every time we go there, there's this group of like 5 or 6 old Greek guys who are speaking Greek, and it's their thing that they're doing. And so we've gone in there almost every weekend for quite some time. And now that they know us, because it's easy to recognize the guy in a wheelchair, right? So now that they kind of recognize us, yesterday, before my brother and I left, I was like, see you guys, give them a little wave goodbye. And so that kind of initiates, it's so easy being a guy because you just see somebody a couple times and then you could just say bye. You could say, hey, how's it going? And then before you know it, you're joining them for coffee, learning a bit of Greek, whatever. So it's going to be our ritual, our Sunday morning ritual is to go to that coffee shop. And it's right near a park. We went to that park and there was an Ethiopian food festival. We didn't actually eat any of the food. I, of course, don't eat almost any food at all. And then my brother had already eaten food for the day, so he wasn't hungry. But I took note of the restaurant that was one of the vendors at the place. So when I'm done with Olympia, I'm going to go check that out. And also when I'm done with Olympia, this Greek coffee shop, they have a bunch of Greek pastry and stuff. And I grew up with that with my dad, so definitely going to be trying to eat some of that. So it's going to be, life is getting a little bit nicer. Yesterday, what I really like is just doing nothing, but in kind of a healing type of way, where it's not laying on the couch scrolling through TikTok. It's going out with my brother, and we just hop over to a park, walk around, talk about something or nothing, and then both of us always keep blankets in our cars, so we go to the park, put a blanket out, and just chill out. Don't do nothing, just lay down and stare into the sky and kind of do nothing. And it's nice. It's really nice. It's relaxing, and it's recovery, and it's just a good way to, just kind of pause and slow down. And I'm very grateful that I can do that too, because there are a lot of people who, they can't really do nothing. on the weekend, even if it's for half of the day. You know, they might have kids, or, you know, so they're doing activities with their kids. They can't actually just lay down and do nothing. And what else? Like, you know, if you have to get ready for work, or if you work on the weekends with a second job, just general stuff like that, you know, where it's like, I'm really grateful that I can have a day where I make zero quote unquote accomplishments, as it might be seen from standard society, right? I'm not reading anything, I'm not learning anything, I'm not growing, quote unquote, you know? I hate when people say if you don't grow, you die, because that's not true. And it also, it's a terrible mindset to have, because then you feel ashamed and you feel like you're dying when you're not doing something productive, and then you're just going to burn yourself out and never enjoy life. So I'm really adamantly opposed to that type of thought. So sometimes I want to purposely force myself to kind of do nothing, but make it enjoyable, make it, you know, part of a slower lifestyle. Anyway, yeah, so I'm going to finish up. I have 2 or 3 more working sets. I've already done my first set. I forgot how many reps I did, so I'm going to have to look back at the video for that. But, yeah, finishing this up and then we're moving on. It's pretty empty here in the gym today. Monday morning, around 7:30. Pretty nice, pretty happy to, you know, have a not so busy gym. I'm thinking about when I go to Taiwan with my brother, if maybe there's like a K-pop concert that we could go to. I would do that. That'd be pretty cool. So, yeah, I did 4 sets of 205 on flat bench. Felt pretty good. You know, I'm just totally cracked out on pre-workout right now. So, of course I have a lot of energy and stuff, but I'm gonna hit a wall. I usually take a nap like around 4 or 5 p.m. for like a 1-2 hour nap. Not the best thing to do, but you know, if I'm tired, take a nap. Why not? If I can, right? You know, I have work still and obligations and all that. But yeah, I haven't gone into the office for a little while just because, you know, with this kind of newer meal prep that I'm doing, it's a little bit easier to be at home so I can cook during my meetings or something. And, you know, just going from the gym straight to the office. And then I'm in the office all day, and some days I don't have quite as much work to do, so I'd rather not be stuck at the office, whereas I could be home and I can do the dishes, do some chores in a way. So working from home has its benefits. Plus, you know, still no one goes to the office. And so I'd rather not waste my gas money, waste my car wear and tear, waste my time just going to an empty office where the only real benefit is I'm using the work Wi-Fi instead of my own personal Wi-Fi. But other than that, it's no reason to really go to the office. There's no culture really, there's no groups of people, no one invites me to lunch. No one's even there to invite me to lunch. There's no peers of mine, there's no one my age or younger. Everyone seems to be quite a bit older than me. Definitely not something I can envision myself doing long term, like with this office. You know, I wouldn't mind staying with Oracle, but I would mind staying at this office. I think it's, you know, gonna destroy my soul someday. And I've tried. It's not for a lack of trying. You know, I really put in a lot of effort to create a culture in the office, encouraging people to come in, trying to organize lunches, book clubs, just create general group chats for everybody to join and, you know, be more social. And I get ignored almost entirely, so I've given up on even trying to be friends with new people or more people in the office, to be honest. Very discouraging, you know, but my team is good. I have a really good team that I work with. It's just that none of them really are here in Colorado. Or a few of them are, but they don't really come into the office, and if they do, it's only a couple people, and everyone is still nearly twice my age. So, yeah, that's a tough thing for sure. But I'll get through it. Just like I'm about to get through this workout. Alright, so now we're doing flies. And I have to say this, I'm going to try not to go on some 10-minute monologue, but on social media, you really have to be careful about what you're looking at, because it's very easy to just read something and not give it active thought. It takes effort to constantly be skeptical and contest and fight against just reading something. And there's a tendency to, if an Instagram page has the word science anywhere in it, block them. I block hundreds of Instagram accounts. My mom just sent me one because, we talk about moving to Europe all the time, and, my mom really likes Germany. To me, Germany's okay, but there's this one Instagram post that said, scientists show that traveling to Germany adds 10 years to your life. And that makes me so mad reading things like that. I feel like whoever wrote that needs to get waterboarded, blocked from social media forever. No one should ever say anything like that. And I looked at the description, I couldn't find a reference to any study. Maybe I didn't read it completely, but whenever someone says science proves or science shows, first, probably it's wrong. Or, people will take a study and they will extrapolate to the extreme. Okay, so it might be that traveling adds 10 years to somebody's life. However, is that a correlation or is that causation? Because you could also argue that, well, what type of traveling? And how do you tell if it does 10 years to your life? Any study that says it adds years to your life, is most likely extrapolating very heavily, because there are very few studies that actually can follow the entire lifetime of populations. And to do a study that is I forgot the term, it's like a variable blind controlled study, something like that. And, to be able to do that and accurately gain insight out of studies like that for a lifetime is very hard, and it's also often not repeatable. So anything that talks about lifetime stuff can be wrong and can have a lot of holes in it. Because I would argue traveling at all can take away years from your life because of the risk of an airplane crash, a car crash. And also when someone makes the claim traveling to Germany adds 10 years to your life, well, if that's a study, who are you studying? Is it people who live in Europe, people who live in America? And, when do they travel to Germany? For how long are they there? How often do they travel? Do they travel anywhere else? How do you control for that? How do you control for going to Germany versus anywhere else versus nowhere else and all that? And also, it's more likely a correlation and not causation at all. Because how do you find people and say everyone who doesn't travel to Germany lives 10 years less? Is that the antithesis? If you don't travel to Germany, you actually live 10 years less than you would otherwise? And then adding to that, most likely what people are finding is that those who travel live a healthy lifestyle. And which comes first? Are you healthy because you travel? Or are you first healthy and rich? Because traveling is not cheap at all. And because you have a lot of money and because you like to travel, that also means you're a person who is healthier than compared to X population of, the obesity in America, right? Like, who are we comparing this to? People who are healthy and don't travel, and healthy and wealthy who don't travel, right? Are these my, duplicates of Cosmo who have the same amount of money, same job, same healthy lifestyle, same food, same exercise, and the only difference is that they don't travel? Because then if I live longer, that's one data point, and you need thousands of those. And something like that is pretty impossible to get. So it's more likely that people who have traveling as part of their lifestyle tend to live longer because of multiple factors. And so claiming that traveling to Germany adds 10 years to your life is outrageous to me. And I've already gone on such a monologue. Wow. Yeah, okay, this is going to be a long video today to start off my Monday morning. But yeah, just be careful. Block that stuff. Don't even look at it. Honestly, all I look at on Instagram is food and funny stuff. I just make sure never, ever to look at anything that claims any truth. Right? If I want to learn about something, I'll read a textbook, I'll read a real book, I'll listen to a podcast with an actual expert, I'll read studies, I'll talk to my friends who have a PhD. I will do anything except get information from social media. For me, and I think for anyone, you should not be doing that. You really should not be doing that. It is so unfounded, So be skeptical, stay, being an instigator is really, really good. Everything you see, try to find an argument against it. And if you can poke holes in it and you can understand why, maybe something leans towards the truth, but there's a higher probability, not possibility, probability that it could be wrong in some way, then that's where your skepticism should be, right? I believe in anything that has a higher probability of being true than false, given current information. But as more information is found, we might find that the probability of something being true either grows or shrinks. And along with that, so do my beliefs. So leading a very scientifically based life with what you believe is, I think, very important in certain domains, where it's helpful. Okay, way too much, but that's something that bothers me a lot, and I'm very opinionated about that. Let's work out now. This watch battery is starting to die really fast. I started this morning at 78, and I'm down to 20% on my watch battery. Probably needs to be replaced. I really wish I didn't have to have this Apple Watch. I don't like having it. I don't find it very useful. The only times it's been really actually useful is when I leave my phone somewhere, and then if I'm in the bathroom and I need help with something, or if I'm just away from my phone and I need help with something, I can make a phone call or I can send a text message. But that can be solved by either not needing help and just dealing with it myself, or just keeping my phone with me. And then when I travel, I don't like to have something extra to charge. I usually try to travel with as few rechargeable batteries as I can. That way I don't have to always be charging stuff. But I probably need to get the battery replaced on this thing soon. Well, in our last workout, reverse flies, I find it pretty difficult to get a solid rear delt workout. This one's pretty decent, and so are the cable ropes, but I think what's the best is if I can get a bench or something and I can lean forward slightly at a 45-degree angle and then do the dumbbells, because then I can really pinch my elbow into my torso and yank it back, and that really hits my rear delts. I try my best to do, pull my shoulder blades back when I do this. Yeah. It's going to be a good day. It's going to be a good week. This is 4-ish weeks out, a little bit less than 4 weeks, so 3 weeks and 6 or 7 days, or not 7, 5 or 6 days. Getting really close. Buddy of mine here who's a bodybuilder, he's got a show in 2 weeks. Gonna go to that. That'll be cool. My brother's birthday is coming up. My friend's wedding is coming up. Oh, there he is. What up, bro? How you feeling? Interview time.
Completed.
Ready for the show?
Always ready for the show.
This morning.
198.
Yeah. Good stuff. Tell the camera. You're gonna win.
I'm gonna win. Gonna crush it this month.
Yeah.